Which celebrity have you lost total respect for and why? Chris Brown. How does he even still have fans or followers? I'll mention a group, actor Scientologists. When the whole Scientology news exploded roughly 8 years ago, I lost all respect. The irony of Elizabeth Moss in The Handmaid's Tale. I know. So disappointing. Gwyneth Paltrow, goop the medical information, that's just wrong, the $100 vagina candle, the recipes, it's just nonsense, and she's not a bad actress. My favorite is the tweet of her drinking alkaline water every morning with a spritz of lemon in it, meaning she's taking the pH right back to neutral where all water is lol. Lamau, this is hilarious. Bill Cosby. He wasn't like Cliff Huxtable at all. This one still stings me as a dad now. I think of some of the greatest scenes in his show, Teaching Budget to Theo. The scene where he feeds the kids cake for breakfast. The humor and joy and life lessons in his show are forever stained. I see it as the legacy of the writers who created the character, not the actor playing him. That's a good way to look at it. Thank you for this perspective. Elizabeth Moss, how do you play the main character in a show like The Handmaid's Tale, yet practice Scientology in your personal life? I don't get it. She was born into it and refuses to discuss it in interviews. When your whole family is in a cult, and you have your career because of the cult, you're not going to be likely to publicly distance yourself. Ada, I think it's also important to remember that the experience of celebrities in Scientology is entirely different from the experience of normals in Scientology. Leah Remini goes into this a great deal in Aftermath. Especially a cult that tortures people for raising a stink. T.I. That dude was cool until he said he was getting his daughter checked for her virginity. He and his wife been accused of kidnapping and rape as well by multiple women. Only color that matters is green, or whatever color the currency is in your country. Wealth is what really separates us. For someone not already listed here, I'll go with Ellen. Used to respect her a lot for being a trailblazer before everything came to light in 2020. Jared Leto. Huge piece of shit. He seems absurdly self-obsessed. I'd give he counts as a celebrity, but I ducking despise Dr. Phil now. Not only did he send trouble kids to a child labor and endangering camp, made an excuse for it, but he also literally told a male abuse victim that he was abusive for fighting back and that Hess a scumbag. Edit. Okay, these comments are getting overwhelming, but for those who asked why did you even respect him in the first place? I first knew Phil from the Catch Me Outside girl and I thought he was doing something good for her. As well as helping family members with their destructive family lives. I didn't realize what he was really doing to these people till recently. I've always hated Dr. Phil. Dude exploits people families with serious issues to gain fame. I always liked the video where the guy who made a hobo fighting video was invited onto Phil's show. The dude walks in dressed up like Dr. Phil, bald cap and all, to show that him and Phil are one and the same. When the bum fights guy has more morals than you, you'd think it would inspire some self-reflection. But who needs that when you're making a shit ton of money exploiting people? I'm still utterly furious at Mason Greenwood. Edit. Manchester United footballer whose girlfriend published evidence of him beating, abusing, and threatening her with rape last weekend. Quite pleased to see how quickly everyone turned on him. Even in threads of diehard United fans I didn't see anyone remotely defending him. Yep, pretty unanimous. Hard not to when the evidence was that damning. The cynical side of me wonders how much she would have been believed without the photos and recording. Closest I really saw to a defense was someone saying that from a legal perspective the photos aren't definitive proof it was him, and that the recording could have been role play of some sort. Their point was less in support of him and more this is how his legal team could approach it if he doesn't plead guilty, and it's not unheard of for it to work. I think the list of ones I haven't lost respect for would be shorter. Weird Al is one. Never a controversy or ill word spoken that I know of. I've heard a couple people say they took their kids to see Weird Al and he met with every single one of them and genuinely cared about each interaction to the point where his manager would be trying to force him to leave but he wouldn't until he met with every single person that wanted to meet him. Weird Al was my first concert. He called me the next day to wish me a happy birthday. Weird Al regularly comes round to check the freshness of my bread, and if it needs replacing, offers a new loaf. Edit. I think we may have a new thing on our hands here folks lol. Weird Al shows up when I need to kill a scary spider, but instead he relocates it outside because all life is precious. A few years ago, my wife and I both had the flu and Weird Al came over with Gatorade and made us chicken noodle soup. Danny Masterson thought he was cool but later found out he is a higher up in Scientology and got away with raping the wife of Cedric Bixler Zavala, singer of the Mars Volta, and poisoned 2 of his dogs. Masterson has raped, I'm pretty sure, 4 women. And he is not only a rapist, he is a violent rapist. Violent. All the rapes were covered up by Scientology, and the women silenced plus punished within the Scientology organization. Charges have since been brought against him, but he is such a horrible human being that I not only watch that 70s show in reruns, when it comes on my TV I cannot change the channel fast enough. This pandemic showed a lot of celebs to be self-centered and out of touch. I lost respect for everyone in that awful Imagine rendition. Imagine no possessions they sing while sitting in their billion-dollar mansions. Meanwhile the rest of us are losing our jobs. If you discount all the actual rapists, and rape apologists, and flat-out racists, I'd say Andy Dick. I never respected Andy Dick, but I grew to hate him over time. Hollywood in general is full of disgusting people, but he seems to take the cake for being an abysmally disgusting and horrendous person. Edit, I didn't know Andy Dick was a groper salter, my bad. Just makes him even more of a gross person. Andy Dick has to be the celebrity with the most stories of people actually running into him and him being a dick. Been over a dozen at least. I used to work at a theme park in California. It used to run special events and sometimes those were hosted by studios. I worked one of these events and Andy Dick was there. He was a colossal piece of shit who was drunk and acting a fool. At one point he just pulled out his dick in the middle of the ride station and started pissing in the corner. He got in trouble in Columbus a while back. Cleveland19.com. It just keeps getting worse the more you read. Columbus, Ohio, app. Comedian Andy Dick was cited by Columbus police who say he urinated on a sidewalk following a weekend of stand-up work at a local comedy club. A Franklin County Municipal Court employee says Dick is scheduled to appear on Thursday, but could instead just pay a $126 fine and court costs for the misdemeanor offense. The 41-year-old Dick is a former co-star of the 1990s sitcom News Radio. Funny Bone Comedy Club manager Dave Stroop says Dick last weekend made inappropriate comments while on stage and also groped patrons. Stroop says the comedian urinated on the floor and on at least one person during his weekend performances at the Columbus Club. At 13 I thought Onision was alright. Ha 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 ha, God, was I wrong. I've lost all respect for him and more. Onision probably thought you were alright at 13 as well. O.J. Simpson, he was so clearly phoning in his performance in The Naked Gun 3313, and didn't do Nordberg justice. I was so put off that I completely stopped following his career after that. The more I hear about this O.J. guy, the more I think he's a real jerk. Madonna, ever since I found out she dumped her 3 chihuahuas at a dodgy kill shelter and one of them died after having its face mauled while the other 2 were basically starving by the time they were rescued. She was literally Madonna. She could have found them a good home. Or literally hired someone just to care for them. She's completely ducked up. She's so beyond out of touch with reality. We worked on her last tour and not only did she have every single shower head in the building removed but insisted on bathing in Evian bottled water. The list for preparing for her arrival was one ridiculous request after another. She would also have everyone show up for work at 3 p.m. and not show up until almost midnight to start rehearsals. So the whole staff preparing for this tour had essentially worked an entire workday when she decided to show up to rehearse. Then would for them to work another 6 to 8 hours. The money was good but you basically didn't live your life, see your kids or sleep for a couple of months because she can't get her shit together and has zero consideration for anyone else. Workers and fans. Same thing with her shows. Showing up 2 to 3 hours late. All of that to cancel the whole tour after a few shows. Just chill with your kids and let yourself age. No one wants to watch a 20-year-old man drag your old ass across the stage because you can barely dance anymore. I didn't know about the dogs. It just makes me dislike her even more. Why would she have the shower heads removed? That's so weird. She might have replaced them with better shower heads she liked more. Saying this from experience because I do this when I move into a new apartment but Evian doesn't flow through them and I do it myself.